So speaking of the EG match, were you disappointed to see EG go out, Summer Boy, or was
Yeah, absolutely. It was
No, he was pumped, dude.
heartbreaking.
he loves it?
I mean, I was super hyped for the EG match. I knew it was going to be kind of close, I think. But it was definitely sad to see them go out like that. I think it was within their power to easily stay in the tournament. I thought that if they replayed this series, 10 times, they might win 5 or 6 of the series. So it was super close and honestly a little uncharacteristic of them. I thought normally when I have the experience playing against them, they're extremely patient and felt a little rushed today. I mean, I thought they felt a little rushed all tournament, honestly, which is, like I said, a little uncharacteristic, but sad to see them go out. VG, though, is playing some pretty, I mean, China overall is playing some pretty fantastic Dota, so hard to beat.
So, do you think they were rushed there? Because in the second, let's just talk about the second game again. Because the first one they pretty much rushed and won that in 20 minutes. In the third game, they picked a Razor carry. Were they against a clock there, or do you think they could have patiented that one out?
The Razor one for me, I was not so sold on. Honestly, I thought the second game definitely got harder as it went along. Like on the second game, it was kind of difficult for them to close it out. I thought Razor might not have been the best pick. Like if I could look back, I'd say they should just pick the Void Spirit instead of the Razor, and then save the Razor pick because like they Razored right and got instantly quapped, and like this quap is it's obviously a mid hero, but it's actually a scaling matchup. This hero kind of scales like a carry. It plays to DPS, and I think VG had the better scaling draft for sure. And EG also didn't have a easy way to end. They had Beastmaster, so they had pressure, but not enough, I thought. And it was more the third game where I thought the third game was basically in their control. They high grounded. They forced VG back to base. They still had their Aegis. They backed off. They reset. And they had Storm BKB on Courier. Their Aegis was like at 30 seconds, and they decided to go back at the high ground after they forced VG back. They got team wiped, 5-man wipe. Storm died without using BKB. Full lost Aegis, died again. I mean, Aegis was kind of expiring, but the game kind of turned on its head. They were up like 4K. They were about to reset. I thought they had a better map game to play. I thought they had Legion Sky. And all of a sudden, they got team wiped. They got all their lanes forced in, and all of a sudden, the Spectre lineup is up 4K. And
it was so quick as well.
Yeah, and it's one of those drafts, right, where you're playing versus Spectre, and you have to realize that if you get team wiped versus Spectre lineup, this game is going to get really, really hard. You have to play this game in a super patient way, and forcing that second high ground seemed a little uncharacteristic of them, especially with BKB on Courier. They're so close. They can just chill, play a map game, take their tri-camp, and really set up for second Roche. So it was a little weird to see.
Where do you place the onus there for Evil Genius then? To you, in your mind, obviously you can't know for certain because you weren't in the booth, but if you had to guess, do you think this is a bad call from maybe one of the players, or would you say this is something which the captain should have identified and Fly should have identified and stopped from happening? Or is this just a case of like that the team just not communicating enough, or just getting too jumpy or making the wrong calls because of the pressure of TI?
I don't know. I don't really want to put words in players' mouths, right? You could say it's on Arteezy. Arteezy is the one who's kind of jacked in this game. He's super high net worth. He has Aegis. He's the one who's probably making the calls in game. So I imagine it was his call to force the high ground again. But someone in this game, I mean, Abed can help and give him information, right? Abed can be like, "Yo, my BKB's on Courier. Let's wait 15 seconds," and Arteezy will maybe be like, "Oh, okay, let's chill," right? Like, there's tons of information that can be put out by EG's members to get this play called off, right? There's lots of people that can say something and say, hey, like for that X reason, there's tons of reasons why they shouldn't do this. So like someone just needs to point one of those out, and then kind of the whole team will realize, okay, like let's chill, let's reset, let's play a chiller game. So I don't think it's on any particular player. I think it's just I imagine their whole team has been a little rushed. I imagine their comms might be a little hectic, maybe more so than normal, if I had to theorize. So.
Yeah, it was for sure one of the most brutal eliminations though from TI I think I've ever seen. It was so rough. Like it just went from they were close to being able to possibly close the game out to there is no chance and they'd lost. Like in the space of, as you say, about maybe even less than 4 minutes, maybe in the space of like 2 minutes. It was so quick, and I mean that's just testament to Vici Gaming as well. Like this team, if you make one of those mistakes, And it's not a big mistake. It's a small mistake, but it leads to just bigger and bigger things. The dominoes start falling. Vici Gaming, they're goddamn vultures, man. They're just there. The moment that you're showing a wound, they're there pecking at you. They take you down, and they will take their place, rightfully so, in the next round of the lower bracket. But can't help but feel for EG. Obviously it's a team we expected great things from, but couldn't quite make it through. Unfortunately, it's a great shame because I was really looking forward to seeing them some more. But at the same time, also want to see Vici Gaming some more. So I think Kit makes a great point in the chat that all of the teams left, I wouldn't be surprised to see lift the Aegis anymore.
Yeah, most certainly. I want to follow up on that point you made about Vici Gaming there being vultures, effective at picking up on other teams' mistakes. If anyone, this is a question for anyone, I suppose, who feels qualified to answer it, but what makes a team effective at doing that? Is it an individual player who's great at making particular calls about teams' mistakes, or is it a coaching vibe that's been brought around a team to allow them to most effectively capitalize?
You need to have a certain confidence for that, and well, you need to smell blood. You need that player that says, "Wait, they're not allowed to do this. We can get them now." Because if you don't, then if nobody says it, then you don't react fast enough. Then later on, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, of course they're not allowed to do that." Yeah, yeah. No, you need somebody who goes, "Guys, it just fucked up. Get him."
I
Do you agree
think
with that, something?
Yeah, I'll say I think for most top teams, like I think, they're a top 8 team in the world. I think every top 8 team in the world has to have that sort of killer mentality. I think they do a good job of recognizing what their win condition is as well. In this third game versus EG, I guess my example is, like Nomad said, this game went from being, I thought, in EG's favor to basically being impossible in like 2-3 minutes. And it's because of really good recognition by VG in how they win the game, right? I think EG, before they lost this Aegis and before they got 5-man wiped, they had kill threat on basically everyone on the map. They had Legion Sky. Anyone who shows on a lane is going to get murdered. They can probably even murder the Spectre. But it's a type of draft where, because they get team wiped, and because all the cores on VG get an extra item off this team wipe, they turn in from having tons of map threat from this Legion Sky to basically having none. The Void Spirit got Aeon Disc immediately after this wipe. I mean, this Void Spirit got a ton of gold and a ton of XP. He basically gets a full completed Aeon Disc off this team wipe. The Spectre gets basically a full another item. The Lycan got AC off that team wipe as well. So all of a sudden, off this one fight, VG have 3 pretty big defensive items online for all their cores. And all of a sudden, all this threat that EG had is basically completely gone. And EG have no map game to play anymore. So I think it's just really good recognition from VG to understand what EG's trying to do. And holy shit, EG fucked up. Like, they have given us one item on all of our cores. And this one item, as long as it's a defensive item, we're going to be able to play the long game. And we're going to be able to eliminate all threat they have. And EG are playing the type of draft where they really can't let that happen. So it's just good recognition by VG and, high skill Dota.
Yeah, and to kind of sum that up, right? It's like in chess, right? When you're looking for checkmate in chess, you're always looking like 4, 5, 6 moves ahead. The best players, they're looking 4, 5, 6 moves ahead. And then the best, even the grandmaster players, they are watching you looking 4, 5, 6 moves ahead. And then they're thinking, right, what can I do to stop that happening as well? And I feel like Vici, the reason they won that game is because they were thinking ahead. They could see what EG wanted to do. They knew what their win conditions were, as you said, Sammy, and they knew how to, they knew how close they were, and no one else did. And EG didn't. They were only thinking about their own game, I would say. And yeah, one small slip up leads to more because they just weren't ready for things to go wrong. I'm not saying they didn't have a plan for when things went wrong, but I think they just kind of got caught up in the moment and let their guard down for just a second, and that's all it takes for the knife to get through the defenses.
One final word on EG. A lot of the discourse I've read online has been about the slight rigidity of EG's drafts. And just looking through those drafts, though, they do seem relatively rigid. We've got Elder Titan 3 times in a row. It's a good hero, but 3 times in a row, 2 Beastmaster games. Enchantress and all this sort of stuff. Not Enchantress, that wasn't, Vici Enchantress was counted it.
ET, yeah, exactly. Vici just answers with the Enchantress and makes her
so. Do you guys think they were too rigid? Could they? I mean, obviously, Bulba is a rigid captain. He's been very rigid coach. He's been very successful with them. But do they perhaps need to become a more flexible team to have that long-term success?
I actually think that what they played today was a little bit too much of a departure. Because as Sammy says, EG really likes to play these economic games where they just really pressure you off the map. But normally their drafts are not on a timer. They always make sure that in the late game they still go 50-50. And I think they're not quite used to playing on that timer. They've never really had to force teams out through sheer right, this is our timing, and if we don't hit that, then we're toast. They haven't really practiced that throughout the season. So they did have the map threat, and they could have played a game like this, but there was still a timer. And the timer is a big mental hurdle, and especially if you're not used to playing against it. I would have liked to see a little bit more rigidity and really actually make sure that this was a proper EG game where you can't get pushed out of the game by just, the Spectre gets big. It's an oversimplification, but kind of that.
You agree with that, Sammy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because this EG game, they had very similar bans to, I think back to my series versus Undying, where there's basically like 7 carries banned. And I mean, it happened to me versus Undying, where like we get first phase like TB Medusa banned, and then second phase like, Luna, Ursa, I think they banned Faceless Void too, and there was Tiny banned in the first phase. And then EG also, I don't know if EG banned any carries, but I'm pretty sure VG were banning like tons of carries before they picked their Spectre. So, it looked like a situation where VG banned basically every carry that would beat the Spectre, that would, play a game to scale versus Spectre. And EG got the 23 pick and said, okay, well, there's not really any good scaling carries. Like, we'll just take something that can ideally have a timing and play off that. And that's definitely not what EG's, necessarily used to. They don't necessarily choose to play like that. I mean, they're definitely more of the scaling team. They want the Medusa. They want the Terrorblade. They've had great success with it that season. And in regards to this kind of rigidity versus like being more fluid, I guess, I would say that I definitely wish they were a bit more fluid in adapting their picks. I think that this whole season for them has been basically the same heroes. I mean, I think EG came into this season with the best idea of Dota out of everyone. I think it wasn't even close. And I know they lost the first major to IG, but I think overall they had the best strategy coming into this season by far. They knew that the spirits were broken. I mean, we saw at this TI, every hero is a spirit. It's basically you're either spirit or a bots mid hero. I think EG were the first team to really take advantage of that at the start of the season. I think they knew it was the best. I think they've had the best idea of what the offlane pool is. I mean, they were the first ones to really abuse the Brood, abuse this Timber when it was broken, and even now, I mean, they busted out Lycan. They kind of play these high pressure offlanes, and they knew that they wanted to have this scaling carry, right? But teams have been looking at them all season. They've been playing the same type of Dota for all 3 majors, and I think it's just caught up to them. I think these teams have been looking at them as the team to beat. I know. Like I said, they lost both majors to China, but I would say that as far as defining the meta has gone, they've defined the meta for the first 2 majors. And that meta has translated into TI, and it just happens that other people have been spending this whole season catching up to them, and they haven't necessarily evolved past that, where I would say LGD took what EG was doing, copied a lot of it actually, but also have their own unique kind of flex picks. They're picking the Visage, they're picking the Dawnbaker, they're picking these new heroes that I would have liked to see EG experiment with a little more. I think there was a lot of powerful heroes that had EG found ways to fit them into their drafts and be a little bit more flexible. Definitely could see them, maybe at the top of the bracket and in the upper bracket there. So